But let's start here. Delia Ramirez is the 3rd Congressional District Congresswoman. She's my Congresswoman, believe it or not. Goes from Humboldt Park all the way out to Wheaton, up to Elgin, West Chicago. You know, it's one of those gerrymandered districts where they wrote it in for a Hispanic person. Delia Ramirez started out in the state legislature. She's the one responsible for the $2 billion in health care going to illegal immigrants. She wrote that bill. She got it passed. Pritzker signed it. And then she moved on to Congress after redistricting, and she took that seat. She's been terrible at it. On August 18th, she put out a press release. Ramirez and faith leaders stand united to protect local families and communities from federal attacks. She writes, Delia convened local faith leaders and community defense organizations to discuss critical role faith communities play in supporting families impacted by the Trump administration's attacks and policies, from immigration defense and protection of workers to assisting with food and fighting the criminalization of unhoused neighbors. The leaders shed light on the work their communities have done and how they must stand stronger together to serve the most vulnerable. Well, she had a number of those faith leaders, and here's a few of the things that they said that she put into her press release. Sanctuary is not a crime. It's a moral duty. Sanctuary is not only a protection, it's about resistance. It's about declaring every human being deserves dignity, safety, and belonging, said Pastora Emma Lozano, Sanctuary Movement. I invite all of you to join Arise Chicago in defending our immigrant neighbors and coworkers to exercise their rights to work free from fear and free from oppression, added Adam Cater, Public Policy Director at Arise Chicago. Civil rights are a subset of human rights, and human rights are a subset of empathy for all creatures, said Executive Director at CARE Chicago, Ahmad Rehab. Here's this one kills me. I ask you, what does it mean when a stranger is not welcomed but is hunted in our streets? Or when a child sees flashing lights and doesn't think of safety but instead thinks of separation? This is an attack on the very image of God in our community, expressed Reverend Juan Pablo Herrera of the LSNA. That's the sophistry that you get. This is Delia Ramirez, who said, I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. Well, let me tell you about 2 Guatemalans that I wonder if she's proud of. The first one, the man who killed Jeanne Brady. Jeanne Brady was coming home from work after a late night working New Year's Eve at the VFW. And she was killed by an illegal who was driving drunk down in Mohammed. And that illegal is a Guatemalan. And he fled. And he's not been found yet. He's on the ICE most wanted list. And then, of course, there's the Guatemalan who killed Katie Abram just a few months ago. Her father wrote just recently, my daughter was killed by an illegal immigrant. And he wrote this in the Washington Times. And that father, Joe Abram, joins me right now. Joe, thanks so much for joining me on The Real Story.
Hi, Jeannie. Thanks for having me.
So this is it's got to be still just painful for you, but I know that you've done quite a few interviews, and so it probably helps to talk it through and try to do something positive in the wake of this tragedy. But first of all, prior to this, were you really aware of sanctuary state laws and what it meant and the impact it would have on people?
You know, I have to be honest with you, not in that much of a detail. I know we were told we're safer and we're a better place with some of these policies. But, you know, we're trying to just live our lives, get through our days, raise our families. And these are the things that we were focused on. And it's sort of that social bargain that we have with our policy leaders. And I guess shame on me for not being more active in understanding what's happening. Because, you know, my perspective was, look, you become law-abiding, you be productive, you raise a good family, your children are productive, and all that we did, right? And so I thought part of the trade-off on that was that our leaders would actually lead, and they would have, streets that are safe for our kids and schools and all this thing, right? The whole piece of that end of the bargain, I think, they failed. I mean, it's no other way to put it. So we held our end of the bargain. They failed, and based on, I believe now, based on these policies, now that this tragedy happened to our family, I do believe these policies are not productive and they don't keep us safer, because it can't be a Wild West. And that's sort of what's happening. They're standing behind anybody and everybody. So I'm okay if you want to bring in migrants and they're vetted and screened properly. I mean, I would expect to be that way. If I broke into Mexico, I hope they would vet me and I would be a responsible person within that country. But this Guatemalan who was using a Mexican national alias was a very easy person to filter out. Shouldn't have been here. Never should have been here. And I believe he was also pulled over once before in Urbana with, some type of moving violation and without a driver's license. But it seems like nothing really came of that. So what happened to my daughter on January 19th was he was allegedly under the influence and struck their vehicle at 78 miles an hour while they were at a stoplight. And my daughter died on the scene, and one of her young friends died in the hospital the next day. It's just horrifying. And so when you open your eyes to this, it's very clear that we need a better process, a better front-end process to understand who's living amongst us, right? And we want the right people, and we shouldn't be ashamed to say that. We shouldn't be ashamed to say we don't want criminals or folks that are unproductive or folks that maybe we shouldn't be standing behind. I don't see where the controversy is on that, and that's all the leaders needed to do. And I understand now that they're probably doing this because they're looking for a few extra seats because Illinois is bleeding citizens and no other citizens are moving into Illinois. So now you have to backfill with anybody on the from an illegal migrant or illegal migrant, and not understanding who you actually have living in your state. You have no process on the front end. J.B. Pritzker during the hearing that we were at in June, the oversight hearing on sanctuary policies, made it clear, everyone's a resident. So he conflated citizens, legal immigrants, and illegal immigrants, and he conflated the whole thing, right? They're all just residents. We're all just residents, and really immigrants are better than the citizens anyways, really what the direction of that discussion went.
Well, looking back here, City of Chicago's been a sanctuary for, I think, the mid-1980s. And then Sanctuary State was passed in 2017. Governor Bruce Rauner, a Republican, signed it into law. Your city and state senator right now, Laura Fine, voted for that bill. I was in the House at the time. I looked up her vote. Your Democrat state representative, Jennifer Gahn Gershowitz, she supports the sanctuary policy. She's not said anything that she hasn't. She wasn't in office to vote for it, but there's no doubt that the entire caucus on the Democrat side, and they are your representatives up there, they support these sanctuary policies. They have no problem with it, and it goes beyond just protecting people from ICE. It includes providing them with enormous amounts of benefits, which I hope to get into in a minute. But my point is have you approached them at all about sanctuary policies and what it did to your family?
Well, I mean, no one would talk to me. For example, Jan Schakowsky, who was my representative at the time in June, probably walked by me at the Oversight Committee half a dozen times, didn't even look in my direction. J.B. Pritzker couldn't muster up one word to say to me. There were some other representatives from Illinois, maybe not my congressional representatives, but I didn't see any senators. There were other congressional folks that, again, on the Democratic side, I would have loved to talk to them. I would have loved to hear because maybe I'm missing something, Jeannie. Maybe they've got a way to say, hey, Joe, by the way, things got a lot of control. We're trying to control things now, or tell me why this was a good thing that Katie died on some altar and for the greater good, because no one could explain that to me. I was just ignored. The Republican side, they did talk to me, obviously, but I wanted to hear the other side. I don't want to just hear one side and not the other.
Well, here's the deal. Politicians make policy, and if you turn out the politicians, you get different policies. That's the case. So this is a choice by the voters to keep these people in power and to keep these policies rolling. So since Katie's death, you have become somewhat of an outspoken critic of open border policy. We all should be outspoken critics of open borders. We don't want open borders. People need to be vetted. They need to come here legally. But what's been the reaction to family, friends, and neighbors in your area? Because you do live in a Democrat enclave. What's been their reaction since Katie's death, and how do they feel about it? Are they more open-minded to what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know if I get that sense at all. I think
okay.
Yeah, I think they it's more of I almost feel like sometimes if I get outspoken, it's almost if it's uncomfortable. They would rather just have me not say anything. That's the sense I get. Hey, it's a tragedy and we ought to move forward, and Let's not dwell. Let's dwell on Katie and not the political side. But it's very difficult for me to peel that back because the political side, in my view, really did contribute to Katie's death. Right? This guy should have never been here. And if he wasn't here, I'd be here with Katie, my youngest. So, and I'm not. And I don't know how you can bury your head in the sand and say policy had nothing to do with it. Don't make it political. It is political. We had a social contract. They broke it. And now they're just telling me to go away.
So Illinois is more than a sanctuary for illegals, though. It's a one-stop service center to fulfill every need of low-skilled people who entered here illegally. The latest, of course, is giving financial aid to illegals for college, although there was a version of that passed much earlier. There's literally no service that we don't provide to illegals: rent assistance, education, legal health care, food, driver's license. And then when they do get caught in criminal activity, we protect them from ICE. Do you think average Illinoisans understand this and this is what they want?
I'd like to believe they don't really, like sort of where I was. They don't really know how the sausage is made. But if they do, and they continue to send these same folks in, then it really, I'm not sure I can stay in this state any longer. Now, we've been here, my family's been here since the 1960s. So this is the only state I ever lived in. And if this continues, for example, the next year or two, if we still have the same folks getting sent to Washington or down to Springfield, I got to be honest with you, I just don't see where I would want at least me and my wife, and then maybe anyone in my family. How do we stay in Illinois with these types of policies? Because it is a Russian roulette. I mean, it really is. I don't know I don't want anyone to have to go through this. And I don't know if, they keep telling us we're safer and we're better. I have other kids, and, I don't know what's going to happen in this state.
Well, I know they gave illegals, driver's license in 2013. And then, last year they decided that it was egregious that their driver's license looked different than regular driver's license. So they said you get a normal looking driver's license. Then they said that non-citizens can become police officers. And then now they said that non-citizens can become driver's instructors. I mean, it's an insanity time here. They are so to protecting illegals and giving them far more benefits than average citizens get. And I just, I want it to stop. I'm so thankful that you've spoken out. And I think a lot of other people are making the same calculation you are. And it's not just about the tax rates anymore. It's about educational opportunity. It's about the illegal immigration thing. It's about businesses getting slammed every single time they turn around with a new regulation. And this is eroding people's trust in the government that we've elected. And I don't know what it will take to wake them up, but your story should.
I really believe if folks understood how unrational these policies are, what they're doing, I have to believe the state of Illinois will reject that, but I'm not sure everyone's paying attention. I know maybe in a way I wasn't paying the attention I should have been, but you're right about, if you think about the look, we're paying the high, property taxes got to be one of the highest in the nation. Sales
It is
tax,
the highest in the nation.
Yeah. Income tax. If you think of everything we pay and what we get back, it just doesn't make any sense. Look, I lived in Chicago, multiple neighborhoods. I've walked the city. I still walk the city. I take public transit, CTA. By the way, you drive on the roads. You are not getting any payback for what you're paying in. So I'm not sure where the money's going, but it's great to know that every citizen in Illinois is so taken care of that now we find billions of dollars for folks who are not citizens. Isn't that weird?
Right. No, I get your point. Right. Well, I'm into confrontational politics. I think you need to confront them. And I highly encourage you to go to a Laura Fine town hall and have a full open discussion about this. And if you want me to join you there, I'm happy to do so. That's a very interesting and something I think I should definitely look into and think about for sure. I would probably be on board for someone here in the state to explain to me why it's okay that Katie's dead for the greater good. I want someone to explain that to me because it's just not getting through. I'm sitting here without my youngest daughter. I can't comprehend it, and no one can explain it to me. Joe, as a mother of 5, I mean, my heart just breaks for you. I cannot imagine. I'd be so angry, and I don't know if I could be as I don't know, calm about discussing it as you are, but I know you've discussed it a lot. And I just want to thank you so much for everything that you've done to speak out about this issue. I know it's not easy, and I know it's not something that you necessarily were even thought that you would ever be doing in your entire lifetime, but I appreciate you so much.
No, I appreciate you having me on. And honestly, I would open up the opportunity to speak to some of the politicians in this state so they can help me understand why what happened to Katie is okay from a larger sense, because honestly, what's happening here is just a complete failure. I mean, at every level.
Okay, I've got some ideas on that. I know some people in Springfield, and I think that we need to call for a hearing on sanctuary state status and have you and others in to testify. So we're going to try and get that done.
That sounds great.
All right. Thanks a lot, Joe Abraham. Really appreciate you joining me on The Real Story.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.